What's the most important thing you can do to improve your investment returns? That's what I'm thinking. Hey, before we jump into how to improve your investment returns, I want to remind everybody, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, help other people find this information on YouTube. And with that, I want to jump in, and it's sort of a false front as far as what to do with regard to the investment, but there's some real data. I came across an article from Jeffrey Patak, writer for Morningstar. He puts out some really good things, and this one graphic caught my eye. He divided mutual fund returns into quintiles, right? So 5 different categories going back from 2015 to 2025. And he took the most volatile stocks, meaning they can measure the cash flow in and out of these funds, and said which ones are the least volatile versus most volatile, and how did the time-weighted returns or the investment-weighted returns on that money, meaning what the actual investors got inside those funds versus the actual fund itself, right? And sort of the overlying idea here is if a stock does 10% over the course of a time period, but it goes up 15% and then it goes down. If I buy in after it goes up, right, the fund got 10%, but I might have got less than that because I bought, I tried to time the market and bought after it went up. Here's this graphic that they put together, the summary of their study. And on the left, the least volatile funds, so the ones where there was the least amount of time-weighted return, the least amount of money going in and out of it. What that looked like in the dark blue line, that's what the fund got. Orange line is what the investor got, right? People put money in, didn't do anything with it, that they got the same returns. And then the next most volatile as far as money going in and out, the next most, and so forth. And you can see over on the left, the least volatile funds, the fund and the investors, and both got about 10%. On the far right, the most volatile funds actually had lower returns, and more importantly, the investors had about half that amount of return, right? Those green lines show the amount of loss in those things. So it's interesting as I take a look at this in that fourth quartile, right? The fund, the returns were actually pretty decent, on a relative basis, but the investors in those funds, right? That orange line in there, they got less. And you look at those orange lines going from left to right, the more volatility, the more money went in and out of those funds, the lower the investors did, right? So circling back to beginning, what's the one thing we can do is nothing, right? Warren Buffett talks about benign neglect in his investment philosophy. And I can't remember if it was him or somebody else that likened an investment to a bar of soap, right? The more that we touch the soap and the more do things, the more it wears away, and the more we can just leave it alone, right, the better off we do. And it is so counterintuitive. We as human beings want to do things, want to take action. But the reality is that the best course of action is set up a good plan in the first place, right? And if there's a really meaningful life change, right, something fundamentally changes, you move into retirement, marriage, divorce, right, there's other things that happen. But for the most part, the goal is to leave it alone, to set it, not forget it, set it and monitor it, but not to change course. So counterintuitive. That's where I think a lot of the value is that a financial advisor can bring, is not what changes to make and what moves to make, even though it feels like what people should look to us to do. It's to help people stick to the plan so that we get the returns that are on the left side of that graph and not on the right. So that's what I'm thinking today. I'm always interested in knowing what you're thinking, right? What do you see in this graph? How do you look at this? How does it affect you? How does it feel, right? Jot a comment in the comment box. Let's have a discussion. And as always, thanks for watching.